you work for CNN, and then I think early October 2021 of last year, you guys had a breakup, and then you left the Democratic Party to start a new political party. Tell us how you came to that conclusion.
Oh, I'd love to. So running for president, I treated it like a startup. And when people said to me, it's like, oh, how are you doing this? I'd be like, look, when you start something new, you know this, Patrick. I mean, I imagine a lot of people listening to this know this. You're looking at devoting 5 to 10 years to make it work or to see if it's going to work. So in the context of politics, I was like, it's 3 years. And I was like, I can do anything for 3 years. 3 years a breeze. I've worked in startups for a lot longer than that. So I learned a ton on the trail. And then after I came off the trail, I still had this sense of foreboding where I was like, it still feels like our country is stuck. Mm-hmm. And so I dug in and to try to figure out why we feel so stuck. And this goes back to why I think you were trying to get Obama and Trump together, is that it turns out our two-party system is a big reason why we feel stuck. You have a country that's more polarized than ever. If someone's for it, then someone else has to be against it. 42% of Americans now see the other side as evil, don't want their kids to marry someone of the other party. I mean, party has taken the place of what used to be religion in American life when you talk about
or race
not
as
wanting
well.
or race. And so with this as the backdrop, and by the way, it's one reason I appreciate what you all do, is that the media is part of this, social media is part of this, it's just trying to tribalize us and separate us into camps. And so I concluded, look, no matter what you're for, the two-party system is just going to make things worse over time. It's going to turn us against each other. You need to go back to first principles. And if you look at the founding fathers of the U.S., they weren't freaking partisans or Democrats or Republicans. They thought political parties were toxic and terrible. So the question is, how do we get from this dysfunctional duopoly to a more functional system? And I thought, well, you need to start a functional third party. And then I don't have it in me to be like, oh, you should do this and then not do it myself, particularly if I'm one of the most logical candidates to actually do it. So this is during 2020 when we were all inside for COVID. I was doing this research and coming to this conclusion that the U.S. needs to get beyond the two-party duopoly and move to a multi-party system.
Did you ever have a meeting with Michael Porter and Catherine Gale? Because that's also what they talk about.
Yes.
I had Catherine on like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, both of them on.
Oh, they were a profound influence on my thinking. Okay. And anyone who, you should go back and listen to that conversation. You can also read their book, The Politics Industry.
Industry of Politics. I think something like that.
Yeah, I think it was a politics industry where they break down the politics industry as if it was a business, where you look at it and be like, okay, like why does it seem so dysfunctional? Why is it so broken? And what they concluded was, it's not that politics is broken, it's that politics does not exist to actually solve problems. It exists to provide jobs for politicians. It exists to provide jobs for consultants. It exists for these media organizations to gin up audiences. Mm-hmm. And so when you make that leap where you're like, okay, the purpose of politics is not actually to do good things, then you conclude the same thing that Catherine and Michael concluded. And those of you who don't know, Michael's a Harvard law professor who was one of the godfathers of management consulting. And they concluded that, look, the incentives are broken, they need to be fixed. And what they recommend is nonpartisan open primaries to open it up. And
very interesting.
It. And then combine that with a ranked choice voting process. You can choose whoever you want. So those two things are the foundation of the Forward Party, which I started, which is to say, look, we just need to have a more functional, rational system that doesn't amplify the extremes at the expense of the 50% of us who are in the middle somewhere.
If you enjoyed this short clip, click over here to watch another short clip. And if you want to watch the entire episode, the entire podcast, click here.